Guys, forget the Justice League and the Avengers. It's the 28th century, and there's only one superhero team that matters. We're talking about a team made up of the descendants of our favorite Looney Tunes characters. And as you can guess from the title of this video, it's the Loonatics. There's Ace Bunny, the face of the group. He has sick martial arts skills and can also shoot lasers from his eyes. There's Danger Duck. He is always trying to steal the spotlight, but his teleportation and energy balls are impressive. Then there's Lexi Bunny. She's the smartest and basically the strategist of the team. She also has mad acrobatic skills. There's Slam Tasmanian. He is absurdly strong, so you can think of him as the muscle of the group. Then there's Tech E Coyote. He is the geek who can make up all sorts of gadgets with his tech genius and magnetic superpowers. Finally, we have Rev Runner, the speedster. He can fly and can also move at supersonic speed. Yep, these are the descendants of the Looney Tunes, all right. This story takes place in a futuristic city planet called Acmetropolis. And these guys are the superheroes. Before we get into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Well, now that you're familiar with our main cast, how about we get started with the recap? We start things off on an insanely hot day when suddenly a giant iceberg floats into Acmetropolis and starts freezing everything, including people. The Loonatics boss, Zadavia, wonders if this iceberg is related to the meteor that fell in the year 2772. For the sake of context, this meteor is the reason behind the superpowers of our Loonatics. When the meteor hit the city planet, it knocked it off its axis, which led to the supernatural forces that resulted in the creation of superheroes like the Loonatics. Now, while their boss is curious about the iceberg, the Loonatics dismiss it as just Mother Nature taking its course, but ultimately decide to act. They use their powers as well as gadgets to try and melt the iceberg. But guess what? It's not over. Inside the iceberg, there's a big Viking ship with robot Vikings who are here to invade and conquer. A battle breaks out, but the Loonatics are having a hard time because the Vikings have special weapons that can immediately freeze just about anything. They get frozen, and the Vikings take to the city to find the power core and freeze it, so that the world can be turned into an ice planet. But Duck and Slam help the Loonatics get out of the ice. They are then contacted by Zadavia, and she tells them that the iceberg somehow ended up in another dimension. It takes some serious effort to chase after them, and it's only after they defeat some of the Vikings and step onto whatever's left of the Viking ship that they realize that most of them are not even here. Rev uses his GPS system to see what's up, and this is where the Loonatics realize that the Vikings are after the power core. As Ace points out, the Viking ship was just a distraction. The Loonatics return and find out the power core apparatus has already been turned to ice, and fight the Viking forces while Tech tries to find a way to undo the power of the ice tools. It works. The Vikings are rendered powerless and the power core is revived. Just like that, the day is over. I mean, the planet is saved. When the Loonatics return to the headquarters, they receive praise from Zadavia. Apparently, Danger Duck wants to change his name, but Zadavia tells him that the name fits him and is also easy to remember. So yeah, Danger Duck is stuck with Danger Duck as his name for the rest of the series.
Thunder Duck, Dazzling Duck, Dancing Duck, Super Duper Duck.
We then see cute little pets that were found by a professor after a meteor crash. They are super cute. Even Lexi gets one for herself. The pets are called Fuzzies, by the way. As for the Loonatics, they have to go and fight a giant spider monster after receiving a serious report. They get to the scene, but surprisingly, the monster just disappears. Duck then finds one of those pets, loves it, and names it Wonderfluff. He puts the little fella in a backpack along with Lexi's pet. Duck is then talking to his friends about some chocolate he has in his backpack. Two massive spider creatures pop out of the explosion and fight the Loonatics, until of course, they turn back to normal. As you can expect, the pets are the spider monsters. The Loonatics split up into two teams. Ace, Slam, Tech, and Rev go around collecting all those little fuzzies, while Lexi and Duck go to find the professor. They find the professor, but he manages to capture them and also reveals the truth about the spider transformation. When the little fellas eat chocolate, they transform into scary spiders. The rest of the team comes to save Lexi and Duck. There's a fight, and after the fight ends, the Loonatics use a special machine to turn the fuzzies back to their cute selves.
Duck! What?
We then meet a lady named Black Velvet who uses her shadow robots to steal Acmetropolis' main computer. and then try to rid the world of light because she herself got blinded by a bright meteor, and now she wants everyone else to suffer like she has suffered. Then Tech and Duck make a bet. If Duck can go a week without using any technology, Tech will buy him a new cape and boots. Unfortunately, Tech ends up getting captured by Black Velvet, and she brainwashes him to use the computer as she wants. The Loonatics chase after a ship and manage to get on it, after taking care of her drones. And then they also defeat her shadow robots. Ace and Danger Duck use Danger's annoying ringtone to snap Tech out of his brainwashing. This all leads to an explosion that gets rid of Black Velvet and her army. Luckily, the Loonatics manage to escape in time with both Tech and the computer. By the way, since Duck had to use his phone to play the ringtone, he loses the bet, and so Tech buys the cape and the boots for himself. He makes sure to show them off to Duck, too.
Oh my, Tech. Don't you look heroic?
But.
The gang runs into a weather girl named Paula. She is a bit too clever for her own good. I mean, she uses her weather-controlling powers to make a storm worse just so she can be on TV. But things go wrong. She ends up getting hit by lightning, which leads to her villain arc. She becomes a villain named Weathervane. Of course, a battle breaks out between her and the Loonatics. She uses her villain powers to create storm creatures and a tornado to confront them. It gets serious and dangerous fast. But again, modern problems require modern solutions. The Loonatics use water itself to take care of the storm creatures and the tornado. Weathervane is not done yet though. She uses her power to create a badass storm dragon. The situation gets serious again. But as I said, modern problems require modern solutions. The Loonatics trick her into flying over a volcano. The heat from the volcano makes the dragon evaporate, and so Weathervane is left with no choice but to escape. All in all, the day is saved. Lexi and Duck are out getting lunch when they see a colorful parade with Chinese dragons. Things are fun at first, but then suddenly a big earthquake quite literally moves Chinatown to the top of a mountain. Actually, the earthquake is not a coincidence. A man named Dr. Dare is responsible, and the reason why he did it is because he sought to change the city the way he wants. He also has a rather particular looking magic crystal with him. The Loonatics use a special digging machine to try and find the man, because he is underground. They are attacked by rock monsters along the way, but the Loonatics succeed in taking care of them. When they finally find Dr. Dare, he uses the magic crystal to try and turn them into stone. However, Ace simply uses his special eye laser to reflect the magic back at him, and it ends up turning the dock into stone instead. The Loonatics then use the crystal to fix the mess created by those earthquakes. Once they are done, the Loonatics receive a year's worth of Chinese food from Chinatown for their help. As for the Doctor statue, it's placed in the middle of Acmetropolis Park. The team later decides to have a celebration because it's been exactly 1 year since the meteor strike that gave them their superpowers. But as fate would have it, another meteor is on its way to Acmetropolis, and it's 500 times larger than the one that gave the Loonatics their powers. Duck jokes around that he wouldn't like a world where everyone has superpowers, but Lexi then points out that if this meteor hits, there will be no one left. Yeah, they have to stop it. Though as the team prepares for the mission to intercept the meteor, we learn a bit about what their lives were like before getting superpowers. Ace was a martial arts stunt double who wanted more than just stunt roles, but was at the mercy of the director. Lexi was a university student who regularly practiced her gymnastic skills, so much so that the head cheerleader was jealous of her. Duck was a pool boy who had to spend most of his days getting dirty diapers out of the pool. Slam was a professional wrestler but couldn't enjoy it because all of his matches were staged. Tech was a student inventor whose inventions always backfired because he was too much of a perfectionist. Rev was a pizza delivery boy, and ironically, he was always late. The Loonatics then reach the meteor and try to destroy it from the outside. But when it fails, they simply land on the meteor itself and destroy it inside out. Episode 7 features an intergalactic circus show with some unusual creatures that come to Acmetropolis. Apparently, the ringmaster created these creatures by mixing human and animal DNA. Next, a kid goes missing, and of course, the Loonatics investigate. They eventually come across a monkey-cheetah hybrid, but nah, it's not the kid. It's actually their boss, Zadavia. she got turned into a monkey-cheetah hybrid. When the team goes to the circus, they end up being turned into animal hybrids too, which is funny because they are already animals. Also, their powers switch between each other too. It's tricky, but they have to find a way to become normal, and also to stop the ringmaster. But as they're trying to stop him, they realize that the real villain is not the ringmaster. It's his assistant. The assistant's name is Otto, and he even turns the ringmaster into a giant creature hybrid. But ultimately, the Loonatics defeat them with a sonic boom, and then trap them with Tech's Glucogel 9000. There is a guy named Drake who can absorb the qualities of anyone that touches him. He's not a good person, and so he uses his ability to try his hand at fame and glory. Just like that, he steals the abilities of a prominent basketball player and manages to score the winning shot right in the nick of time. He then also steals the abilities of Ace and Rev because he saw them in the audience. Ace loses his abilities and is replaced by Lexi as the team leader for the time being. When the Loonatics are assigned a mission to stop a dam from bursting all over the place, Drake pulls up and manages to steal the abilities of Lexi and Slam. Now, only Duck and Tech are left with their powers still intact. Duck is chosen as the leader of the two, and they battle Drake at a parade. But, of course, they also lose their powers. This is where Tech creates special suits for everyone so that they can still fight Drake. But during the battle, they notice that Drake is being exceedingly cautious about keeping them away from him. The Loonatics figure out that if they touch him again, they'll regain their powers. Sure enough, they touch and then defeat Drake. Drake is sent to jail, but unfortunately, since the Loonatics regain their powers, Duck is told by Zadavia that he isn't the leader anymore. Soon after that, a criminal named Mastermind breaks out of the Acmetropolis prison. She has the ability to turn metal into weapons, and so she simply stole a pen, turned it into a robot, and used the robot to escape. Meanwhile, Duck is playing a ninja game, but it's actually not a ninja game. It's a training tool designed by Tech, and he amps up the difficulty the moment Duck starts getting too smug. Zadavia then tells the Loonatics about Mastermind's escape. Tech, on the other hand, reveals that she was his student at one point. But when she tried to use a brainwave machine to steal knowledge from people's minds, he stopped her, and she was caught by the police. The Loonatics go after her, but as they are busy fighting robots, she sneaks into the headquarters and takes over. She then attacks their plane with flying saucers and causes it to crash. When the team tries to enter their own headquarters, they find their weapons booby-trapped and have to smash through them in order to reach a secret elevator. Mastermind then traps all of them in a heat room, but they escape through a vent. Now, all that's left is to take care of Mastermind. Tech explains that they should use an electromagnetic pulse to mess up Mastermind's gadgets. The team splits up into two. Lexi, Slam, and Rev find the EMP, while Ace, Duck, and Tech sneak up on Mastermind. Tech ends up confronting Mastermind. She mentions that she thought Tech was jealous of her brain, but Tech explains that the way she used her brain is bad. She shoots him and Tech shoots back. Meanwhile, Lexi and the others finally find Tech's EMP, but apparently the instructions are too complicated for anyone but Rev. He figures them out and turns off all of Mastermind's forces using the electromagnetic pulse. That's it. It's over. Tech ties Mastermind up and she is sent back to jail. Later at the beach, Duck says there's nothing better than relaxing at the beach after a job well done. Ace is impressed that Duck is right for once. However, the beach turns out to be just another training room which Rev has to power up with a bike. He's done. We're then introduced to a villain named Timeskip who steals a powerful robot called the Trollbot 9000 from the city's weapons laboratory. The Loonatics obviously try to stop him, but fail, and the robot ends up destroying their headquarters. However, the next thing you know, Ace wakes up and thinks that it was all just a dream, but it happens again and again. Eventually, they figure out that the villain is using time-manipulating powers. Of course, they can't defeat someone like this through ordinary means. So, they ask a doctor named Fidel Chroniker for help. He explains that the villain has been resetting the day. He knows because the guy is his grandson, although it was already obvious to everyone what the villain was doing. Anyways, they use time against the villain. They reset the day themselves, and Ace sends his past self a letter. Ace and the Loonatics then plan to stop Timeskip from stealing the robot because they are now at a point in time where Timeskip hadn't stolen the robot yet. Now, when the villain tries to steal the robot, they lure him to the headquarters and capture him. The doctor then decides to remove the time-manipulating abilities from his grandson before the guy is sent to prison. Now, these last 2 episodes are the finale of the first season. We see Massive, Mastermind, Drake Cypher, and Weathervane all locked in tubes that stop them from using their powers. Duck is casually watching over them and telling them they won't be escaping from here, but then suddenly, a magic ball appears and makes a wormhole. The wormhole absorbs Massive, Mastermind, Drake, and Weathervane and takes them to space where they meet Optimatus. He gets straight to the point and asks them for their help to defeat the Loonatics. In return, he even promises them Acmetropolis. The villains accept, and they also get some special devices from Optimatus. Going back to Duck, he feels genuinely bad because the villains escaped on his watch. Ace reassures him, but then Zadavia appears as a hologram and tells them that they need to find the villains ASAP. She fears that Optimatus is behind the villains' escape. Ace immediately sends both Duck and Rev to go and search for them, while Tech finds Drake at the zoo. The Lunatics set out to capture him, but little do they know that he was not the same Drake anymore. By the time they get there, Drake steals abilities from the animals. Next, a battle breaks out between the Lunatics and the villains. And guess what? This time, the villains win. The Lunatics are knocked out, and when they awake, they are trapped in a special prison that keeps them from using their powers. Drake is keeping watch. Meanwhile, Mastermind disguises herself as Duck and enters the Lunatics' headquarters. She plants the special device that Optimatus gave her. Duck and Rev are in the same cell, and they figure out that it was a wormhole that allowed the villains to escape. And after they receive some instructions from Zadavia, they escape and start looking for the rest of the team. Duck distracts Drake while Rev unlocks their prison. Unfortunately, Duck accidentally teleports beside Drake and gets his abilities stolen. But even without his powers, he manages to free them after Tech figures out the password. They fight the villains and escape just as the prison collapses. Optimatus is upset at the villains for failing him. He takes them back using a wormhole, but Duck also follows them because he wants his powers back. The rest of the Lunatics meet Zadavia, and she says that there's something she needs to tell them. Ace mentions that Optimatus felt somewhat familiar, and this is where Zadavia reveals that Optimatus is actually her brother. She also adds that Optimatus will do anything in his power to destroy Acmetropolis and her. As it turns out, she and Optimatus were born into the royal family on a planet called Freeling. Optimatus had plans on trying to take over the universe though. Nobody knew until one day when he announced to the Council of Freeling that he wants everyone's help to take over the universe. Naturally, the council refused, but he then used his robot minions to take everyone hostage and took over the planet. In every sense of the word, he became a dictator. Zadavia fled on a spaceship because Optimatus wanted to get rid of her too, because he was afraid that she may come after him someday. She fled to Acmetropolis while Optimatus ended up getting caught in the thrust as her ship blasted off. Now, as she is telling this, she states that she thought she left no trace of him to follow. But she was wrong. Her brother found her. And guys, this is where it gets interesting. Remember the meteor that gave the Lunatics their superpowers over a year ago? It was him who sent it to Acmetropolis. Of course, it was to completely eliminate her once and for all, but before the meteor collided with the planet, she used the weapon system to slightly tilt it in order to lessen the impact. The tilt released some radiation which gave the Lunatics their superpowers. Now Zadavia explains that she's been searching all over to find Optimatus ever since the meteor strike, and she finally found him on a small planetoid in the asteroid belt, which means that if Optimatus is anywhere right now, it's likely that place. They all get on Zadavia's jet and brace themselves because they're going to save Danger Duck. By this point, Duck is already in Optimatus' grasp. The Lunatics are confronted with Optimatus' robots and ships in space. They do their best to fight, but they fail to stop the robots from capturing Zadavia. Duck manages to escape by tricking one of the robot guards into shocking itself. Next, Optimatus shows Zadavia that he is going to destroy Acmetropolis. This pisses off all the villains he recruited because he has promised them the planet, which is why they try to stop him. But of course, they fail because Optimatus saw this coming. Duck, on the other hand, manages to regain his powers and then proceeds to distract Optimatus as well as his robots long enough for the Lunatics to arrive at the scene. A fight breaks out between Zadavia and Optimatus while the Lunatics figure out how to keep Acmetropolis from getting completely destroyed from the giant wormhole that Optimatus has prepared for the job. Tech tries his best but struggles to figure out this alien technology. But then, suddenly, he remembers a special chip Zadavia mentioned. He uses it to control Optimatus's computer, and just like that, he stops the wormhole. The Loonatics were keeping the robots busy while Tech was figuring things out. And as for Zadavia, she manages to win her fight against her brother. Though right as she wins the fight, a wormhole starts to suck up the asteroid they're at. The Loonatics and Zadavia quickly get in Optimatus's ship to escape. But Optimatus also turns out to be on board. He attacks them, and then Ace uses his laser vision to knock him out. Zadavia then opens a wormhole and sends her brother to one of the coldest and most remote parts of the universe. As they say, all is all if it ends well. But wait, the villains back on Acmetropolis think that the Lunatics sacrificed themselves to protect Acmetropolis. They start thinking about taking over the city now that the Lunatics are gone. But just then, the Lunatics pull up behind them. Well, guys, this was the first season of Loonatics Unleashed. What do you think? Did you enjoy the show? Come on, let's talk about it in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the story and want me to recap the second season as well, you better make sure to spam that like button and also subscribe to the channel, guys. There are more brilliant recaps like this from where this one came from. Also, feel free to tell me which cartoon or show you would like recap next.